These are shots that we're getting a little later. This has already taken place and they have flown together there. In fact, remember, Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman was shot down by Pakistan, had shot down a Pakistan Air Force F-16 before he was shot down in Pakistan on February 27. The air battle between India and Pakistan were fought on both sides of the line of control took place a day after the IF had struck terror targets near Balakot, deep inside Pakistan. This was the first time the IF struck targets in Pakistan since the 1971 war. And there you can see Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman, who he was recently awarded the Veer Chakra as well for that shooting down of the Pakistan Air Force fighter. And he has flown in a MiG-21 fighter from the Pathankot Air Base along with Air Chief Marshal B.S. Dhanoa. There you can see those visuals ahead of that sortie. The Pathankot Air Base is the frontline fighter base and home to the 26th Squadron of the IAF, and the Indian Air Force has about 5 squadrons of Russian-made MiG-21 fighters. Well, there you can see just ahead of that Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman. As we said, he was recently awarded the Veer Chakra. He flew that sortie with the Air Chief Marshal B.S. Dhanoa. There, those visuals coming in from the Pathankot Air Base. Wing Commander Abhinandan, remember, was taken captive by Pakistan on February 27th after he was shot down over Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And recently, he was finally cleared to fly. Wing Commander Abhinandan was flying a MiG-21 at the time of the incident. There you can see the inspection taking place ahead of flying that sortie together. All right, well, to find out more clearly, an inspection there going on ahead of flying that sortie together. That's Air Chief Marshal B.S. Dhanoa and Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman, they've both flown a sortie together from the Pathankot Air Base. And it's a joint sortie in a MiG-21 fighter. Remember, Abhinandan, the Wing Commander, was recently cleared to fly, and he was also awarded the Veer Chakra for the shooting down of the Pakistan Air Force fighter during the dogfight that had taken place on the 27th of February. He was then shot down on the other side of the line of control. Well, let's go across to Vishnu.
What you can see is the Air Chief in the front seat and Abhinandan in the rear seat. And so I'm just trying to see if that is Abhinandan in the rear seat. Yeah, it is. Abhinandan in the rear seat of that MiG-21. So the Air Chief is actually flying Abhinandan, not the other way around. It should be mentioned, of course, that this is a twin-seat aircraft, but the Air Chief B.S. Dhanoa, a veteran as far as MiG-21s are concerned, he's been flying that aircraft for decades. And Abhinandan now in the rear seat of that MiG-21 being flown by the Air Chief. So both pilots, both extremely very experienced on the MiG-21 aircraft. This is called the MiG-21U. It's the trainer variant of the MiG-21. Gargi, it seems Abhinandan has trimmed his moustache a little bit. It's a slightly different look over there for Abhinandan, who had those sort of handlebar moustache, but he is now in the back seat of that aircraft. The Air Chief, very much the boss, in control of that aircraft. It was a 30-minute sortie. These images coming in from Pathankot Air Base. This took place earlier this morning, just a little while back, in fact. I should tell you that there was intense media scrutiny ahead of this. There was a lot of interest, but then they felt that there'd be so many journalists descending on Pathankot that this flight, which was supposed to take place tomorrow, is actually taking place today, number one. And number two, there is only one agency, ANI, which is broadcasting or which has been allowed access to this particular site. Now, the Air Chief has also spoken to Abhinandan, to ANI, I beg your pardon, and we'll get that soundbite later on. But there's this rollout of footage which is now taking place. What you saw earlier on, what you called an inspection, is actually called a walkabout. when the two pilots actually check out the control surfaces of the aircraft prior to a flight. Now, Air Chief Marshal Dhanoa has been flying on the MiG-21 quite a few times over the last several months. On the 20th anniversary of the Kargil War, he'd flown what's called a missing man formation in honor of the Indian Air Force pilot, squadron leader Ahuja from his own squadron during the Kargil War, who lost his life after he was struck by a Pakistani surface-to-air missile over Kargil.